And welcome to our community. Susie Thomas here with Amy Miller of Ohio Means Jobs. Good morning, Amy.
Good morning.
Well, first of all, I know there are folks who are searching and there are folks who are trying to find good employees. So hopefully within the morning we can cover all of these things. But first of all, tell us a little bit about Ohio Means Jobs. What exactly are you?
Well, Ohio Means Jobs is a federally funded one-stop center. There's an act called the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act that funds our centers, and this is your taxpayer dollars at work, so everybody should take advantage of this. Basically, what our goals are is to teach people job search skills. We're not a temp service, we're not a placement agency. What our job is job search is changing constantly. So we want to make sure that somebody who's going out and looking for a job is prepared. That's what we're doing. For employers, we're trying to make sure that they are getting the best employees out there. We're doing a lot of initial HR screening for them. So we're making it easier for employers to find qualified employees.
Are you actually doing headhunting for employers?
To a certain degree. Mm-hmm. OhioMeansJobs.com is the state of Ohio's website, and it is a great website for job seekers and for employers. So for us, what we're doing on the employer side is when we're working with an employer, putting their job order onto Ohio Means Jobs, and then searching resumes on Ohio Means Jobs to make sure that we're looking for people that meet the qualifications and skills that the employer is asking for.
Now, what kinds of jobs are we talking about here?
Oh, wow. We have jobs all over the place. We have from your basic entry-level service jobs to PhDs, doctors, dentists. Right now we're looking for the new executive director for leadership Tuscarawas County. So, it's a whole variety of positions that, it doesn't matter. I guess that's maybe another thing, Susie, is it doesn't matter the size of the employer, whether you're a mom and pop, or you're 500 people. We can help any employer of any size.
So when we say who would be using this service, you're saying everybody.
Everybody.
From the professional with their degree to the unskilled worker, everyone.
Absolutely.
What does the job situation look like out there these days?
Well, Ohio just released their unemployment rates, and Ohio as a state is much lower than they've been in many, many years.
And that's good news.
And that's very good news. You like to see those kinds of things. So in some jobs, we are now in what we could call an employees market. So instead it was an employers, before they could be very selective about who they chose for a position. Now it is more up to the employee. They've got a wider range of opportunities available to them. So it makes it a little bit, not totally, but a little bit easier when you're doing a job search.
Mm-hmm. When you're talking about unemployment numbers, how do we read those? Because I know there might be some people who've just given up and they don't count those. How does that work?
Yeah, that's very true. What the unemployment rate is the number of people that have filed unemployment claims. So when you're looking at that number, it is not looking at those people that have dropped off unemployment. It only looks at the people that have filed those claims. So there's a couple different things that could go into that as well. You are only eligible right now for 26 weeks of unemployment. When the economy was real bad in 2008, 2011, there were a lot of extensions, both federal extensions of unemployment and state extensions of unemployment. That's not there anymore. So you're eligible for 26 weeks and that's it. So you may still be unemployed, but you've dropped off the unemployment rules. So that shows, again, a lower rate because those people are not there.
But it's a general indicator that when that number is low, it tends to mean that more people are employed than were in the past. Is that a correct statement?
Exactly right.
What can a person do? All right, let's start off with a guy or a gal, and they have decided either they are just getting their first job, or perhaps they've had a career and they're looking for a second career, and they're hitting that job market and the whole process of job searching for either the first time or for the first time in a long time. Get us prepared, Amy.
Okay. Well, one of the first things to know about is networking. And this is really going to be important for anyone. Even if you are a student, even if you are looking at that second career, it's especially important for you. Networking is who you know, the people that you are connected with, whether it's teachers, other professionals, people you've worked with in the past. Anybody can be part of your network. And when you're doing networking, it's really just letting people know that you're looking and maybe finding out if they know of anyone else who's looking. Something that's changed when it comes to job search is the social media aspect.
Yes.
That's huge. And you have to kind of weigh that very carefully. There is a website, LinkedIn.com, and I think many people have heard of LinkedIn. That is the professional social networking site. So as a professional, if you are, starting to look for a job, LinkedIn is really a great place to get started. Putting your information on there, it is strictly professional. So you're not, disclosing anything but professional information about you. It's also a great place to research other companies' interests that you have professionally, and there's lots of groups on there. So again, if you're, for example, interested in human resources, there are human resource groups that are on there. So that's a really important thing to get started. Be very careful though. There is a lot of social media on, like, with Facebook and with Twitter, and you have to just really be really careful what you put out there as a professional and as a human being. That stuff comes back to haunt you, unfortunately.
How true.
So you really have to watch, no matter, it's my personal Facebook page. It doesn't matter what I put out there.
But if I'm an employer, what better way to find out about somebody than to check out their Facebook page?
Exactly right. And that's what they're looking at. And it can be good and bad. Something that employers like is, someone who is very maybe well-spoken. And when you're writing, if you have good writing, they might like that. But if you're saying negative things about your past employers or just being very negative in general, they're really going to notice that.
Not smart.
Not smart. So, first off, start with networking. That's the beginning. Mm-hmm. Now, you need to also have a resume. We have really come to an area of time in job search where you really need to have a resume, whether you're starting at the beginning of your career or you're going to your next step in your career. Mm-hmm. And resumes have really changed. There were things that were kind of standard issue when you were doing a resume. I'll give you an example. You used to always have an objective at the top of your resume. And that objective...
Wouldn't the objective always be to get a job?
To get a job. And
that's wasted space then, right?
It really is, because it was just a generic sentence. I mean, it could be something like, to obtain a position within my field with an opportunity to grow and expand with the company.
Mm-hmm. Yada, yada, yada.
Yada, yada. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it doesn't really say anything. Mm-hmm. So objectives are out the door. Another thing that used to be standard on a resume was the line, references available on request.
Right. Well, wouldn't they obviously want references?
Exactly.
Okay.
So it was space that was wasted. And I think that a lot of people that were starting out doing a resume thought, well, this is a good way to fill space. But that's all it's doing, is filling space. And
But I'd always heard, too, that you needed to keep it to one page. So if you're listing references, then that you can use up a lot of room. Is that changed?
Well, you know what? You could have up to a 2-page resume, but only if you have the professional level job or the experience that you would need to have that. If you're just going on to go on in multiple pages, they really don't want, an employer does not want to see that.
How far back should you go? I know if I were applying for a job today, I don't think I would want to tell them what I did at the end of my high school career. So how far back do you go? 10
or 15 years.
Okay.
I mean, 10 is ideal, but you could go back 15 if there was something you especially wanted to get on there. Any farther than that, that's not going to work.
And what do you do if there's a spot in there? Now, I know for the stay-at-home mom, it's perfectly fine to say I had this time out, this gap in dates, where I was home raising children, and then when they went off to school, that's when I went back to work. What about a person who's got some unexplained gaps in that resume? Does that hurt them? Is there a way to overcome that?
Well, you have to be prepared to explain your gaps. And doing a good cover letter is going to be really vital to explaining your gaps. And that's really the only chance you get to do it is in a cover letter. Because if an employer looks at a resume and they see gaps and they don't want somebody with gaps, or they're questioning why that gap is there, they're really not going to spend any time looking at your resume. you could come in and it could be a perfectly logical reason. You were a stay-home mom, or maybe you retired and decided to take a few years off. That's fine. Maybe you were a dislocated worker. You lost a job, you were laid off, and it took you a while to, to find another job. That's okay. But they have to find out that in something like a cover letter, so they know, hey, this is why I have a gap. It's no longer an issue. I'm looking for a job.
It's always, I know we raised our kids telling them that it's always easier to find a job while you have a job. So a lot harder to find a job if you don't have a job.
Yes.
Do you have some tricks? And are there any tricks to overcome the stigma, maybe, of not being employed, looking for employment?
Well, something that you can do when you're not employed that really does help you in the long run is volunteering. It's something that keeps you out in the community. It keeps you socializing, but it also may teach you additional skills that you didn't have before. So sometimes when you lose your job, let's step back a second. When you lose your job, you feel like you've lost part of yourself. This is a part of your identity. This is what you've done for years. And the loss that you go through is kind of like losing somebody. You've lost
There's
an
a
essential
grieving
part of
period,
yourself.
isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're looking at that, it's hard to think, okay, now I need to get ready for looking for my next job, and now maybe I should go volunteer just to get some experience. It's hard to put yourself in that place, and I understand that. But you really do have to think about your next steps as soon as you possibly can.
Well, it seems to me, too, that volunteering gives others an opportunity to see you at work.
Yeah.
And so you're almost getting an audition in front of people who could do something about offering you a job.
You never know who you're standing beside when
Exactly.
you're volunteering. You may be standing by the CEO of some company and you have no idea. But they're going to see you and they're going to be impressed with what you do. Those kinds of things are really vital. So that's not necessarily a trick, but that's something that's really a smart thing to do when you're not employed.
Most of sports is mental. It seems like most of this is mental as well, just to get yourself in that frame of mind that, hey, I've got gifts, I can serve, don't have a job right now, I will go use my time wisely by volunteering, contribute positively, and who knows where that might lead.
Exactly. And another part of that too, Susie, is making sure that you are handling your stress. Make sure you make a schedule for yourself. Maybe you've never been a schedule person, but maybe now this is the time that you need to become a schedule person. If you have plans and small goals that you're accomplishing every day, that keeps you in a better frame of mind. Don't lay in bed all day and have a hard time getting out, and then you're in your pajamas all day, and don't do those kinds of things, because you want to keep yourself in that working frame of mind. Keep yourself on schedule. Those kinds of things keep you in the right frame of mind and keep you moving towards employment. So, that's another thing that's really important, is making sure that you are staying on track with a job search. It's okay to be stressed. It's okay to be worried. That's normal. But there are things you can do like this to manage your stress.
We're speaking with Amy Miller from Ohio Means Jobs. Some really, really good points here. And the job situation, job searching has changed. We're going to be back with Amy after these words with even more. Amy Miller, thank you so much for joining us.
Great to be here.
And we'll talk more after these words. You're listening to Our Community.